on this episode of Shooting the Shit with Saints.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. I am who I am. My name is my name. And welcome into another episode of Shooting with Sands. All right. So if you're listening to the pod, we continue. If you're listening on YouTube, what up? I'm obviously just cycling through these. So we're down to the Denver Nuggets and the Clippers. Next, we're going to talk about OKC and Memphis. My God. So this was the most probably anticipated series and the most heavily picked, I feel like, with the Clippers, because it seems like an upset, but it really isn't, considering since the beginning of March, I believe the Clippers are number one offense since Kawhi came back. He's playing 36 minutes a game. He's fucking hooping. All right. What we saw in game one. And then I'll get to my series preview and kind of talk about it, right? I really saw a team give the game away. I hate to do that. And I picked the Nuggets for the series, for the record. So the basketball world was too heavy on the Clippers and the Lakers. So I had to zag on one of those, and I'm really into the Lakers, honestly. So, but I did not like what I saw. I think, like always, Zubac is always going to hold his own against Jokic. It just seems to happen that way, where, yes, Jokic's numbers are going to look nice. They are always going to look nice no matter what, but it looks tougher. You know what I mean? Seems tougher. That's what I saw. Harden was fantastic. And I just think, I mean, at the end of the game, he's telling Kawhi to shoot. I think that's what this came down to. Michael Porter Jr. isn't getting fourth quarter minutes. And then that is like one of these puzzle pieces to this random firing of Mike Malone to the public, where in the building, I bet it felt like finally this happened. And Calvin Booth, like, it's weird. Like, why is Michael Porter not out there? How did they win? How the fuck does Russ make a boneheaded play, a game-winning play, a boneheaded play, a boneheaded play, then a game-winning play? Like, this series is set up to be chaotic. Jamal Murray does not play well. They have so many guys out there on the Clips with Chris Dunn and Kawhi Leonard and Derrick Jones Jr. Like, there's so many bodies they can kind of throw at people defensively. And they're impressive. They have been impressive the last month. I just think it's hard to judge basketball on the last month of basketball. I think teams that should have given up in November start giving up in February. Teams that never thought they would have to give up or given up in March, finally. Paul George announces that his podcast is done, and then he sits out for the whole year. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's just one of those things. But game one, finally, I'm getting to it. I saw a lot of stuff that the Clips just have an advantage on. I think they make everything hard for the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets look weird. The vibe is off. I don't know how healthy Jamal Murray is. He came back. He had some primetime Jamal Murray games. That could be a fluke. I'm just curious. And Jamal Murray, the playoff riser, could come out of nowhere. And this could just turn into the old Nuggets out of nowhere, but I just don't see that happening. I don't. I think they lack perimeter defense. I think the Nuggets lack, how do I say this? They were really, I should just say, they're lacking another scorer on the offensive end, just because they put all this stock. To me, when you trade KCP, you're putting your stock in Christian Braun becoming a Austin Reeves level, I guess, box score guy, not actually, best number 3 in the league, but you're looking for 17, 5, and 5, I would imagine. So now he's your best perimeter defender, and he isn't giving you a lot on offense. It seems like he gets started in transition, and that can lead to him getting a hot hand. That's what he was his rookie year. I think he is developed as a player. You can see it, but it just isn't to the level where I am like scared of them. I'm not scared of them at all. You ain't got enough to hold their jockstrap. James Harden is going to get whatever he wants in this series. So is Kawhi, and so is Norman Powell. They are. and Zubac as well. Zubac should probably be on an all NBA team if we're keeping it a buck. Like, he might get on one. He's going to have votes. He's just been fantastic. He's played every game, plays a lot of minutes as a big guy. Yeah, and then the luxury of being able to bring in a smaller lineup kind of on the back of Zubac, because you don't have to live that long without Zubac with the Clippers. So I don't know, man. This is just a perfect matchup to me. I think the Clippers outweigh them in a lot of positions, talent-wise and all that. I simply picked the Nuggets because Jokic is the end-all be-all to me. And my opinion on the series hasn't changed at all after game one. And once again, I would highly recommend don't do that. Like, dudes like Bron and Jokic are filling out a defense game one. And at some point, like, Bron is, I mean, you can see it with his play. He's kind of half-assing through two quarters. And if the game is within reach at the end of the third, he kind of goes for it. That's what he did the other night. That's why he ends the first half with like 4 points, you know? But yeah, man, Jokic is so good. I just feel like he can manipulate this into a Nuggets win. I just think they can will their way there. I had no idea that Michael Porter Jr., this would become a real consistent thing, that he was not playing fourth quarters, mostly in the playoffs, because with their limitations offensively outside of Jokic and Jamal, I don't know why you would do that. I know he is a defensive liability and he is a shot chucker, all that shit. I don't know how that benefits you in the long run. Even if you wanted to bring up the point of, well, what about the defensive mismatch with Kawhi and James and Norman and all these guys? Why am I calling people by their first name? And Powell and all these guys, right? I would say, so what? So what? You have to have his offensive output, and they show that they didn't. But I also don't trust a team that is relying on relying. I said this with Antonio Brown when he came to the Bucks, all right? When you are a team we ended up winning a Super Bowl, but if you are relying, whether it's on court, off court, a wild car, maybe. Isn't that Lindsay Lohan movie with the buggy? If you are relying on a wild card player to win you basketball games, like Minnesota is not relying on Jaden McDaniels. They are simply going, oh, he went off, dope. He didn't go off, cool. We still fought with him or fought without him or whatever. They're relying on Julius Randle to hoop, which is also a wild card. So you got James Harden and Russell Westbrook getting relied on. I don't know what to think about it, you know, because at some point I would believe that the extended Harden minutes would hurt you more. But James Harden, to me this year, even with the lower efficiency, the lower points per game total, he's still obvious. He's turned into a point guard, which we have to give him credit for. He transformed his game. I still think James we saw a 50-point game not too long ago. He can still average in that 30 point per game range to me if he wanted to. I just think he's evolved. So with those two going at it, and like I was saying, James Harden has not shown me, he seems to play different, as in there is no give up in his game now. Like, even in his prime where he was loyal to Houston and wanted to be there, he had some give up. As in, did Joel Embiid give up down? Jason Tatum hits a 3 to get you down 11 with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter and you're pouting. James Harden did that, but he just had the ball. So it didn't look as bad, right? He just had the body language with the ball instead of standing at the elbow. So, you know, I don't think either of these teams will go to the finals. I think they get stomped by whoever they play. So that's that. But in this series, I am picking the Nuggets just because everything is saying the Clippers. Now, the matchups, the way that I look at it is individual matchups, the coaching matchup. Like, the best player on the court is Jokic, but the other two best players, I mean, I think Jamal's better than Harden, but if you talk to an average NBA fan, I would imagine an argument would ensue. I don't think that conversation's close in the playoffs, by the way. I think Jamal is light years ahead of Harden. But we will have to see if he improves, because if Jamal Murray keeps playing like that, they will lose this series in 5. So That's all I got to say about that series. I got the Nuggets winning. I love the matchups. I love it. I love everything about this series. The mid-range game is going to come back because of this series, which kind of pisses me off there by saying it's dead when, in fact, I've always said best players in the league still use the mid-range, man. But that's all I got for this series. Peace.